time for the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Featuring site publishers Carey Murdoch and Josh McCuistion, along with videographer Eddie Radosevich. It's the unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Carey Murdoch along with my pals Josh McCuistion and Eddie Radosevich. If I can start turning things down and operate the studio as it's supposed to be operated. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another unofficial 40, and we are coming off of a Sooner opening win, 56-7 over UTEP. And we're also going to talk a lot of Ohio State coming up. Eddie Radosevich and I getting ready to hit the road tonight, actually. Heading down to Dallas, going to fly out of there.
Finally here.
I'm very much not excited about the traveling part.
It'll be...
I just hate airports so much.
You'll feel better when we're not on the road 13 hours on Sunday.
Oh, I don't know. It depends on if the hurricane is barreling down on us and forcing us to stay in Georgia.
Oh, we're supposed to fly through Atlanta?
Yes, both ways.
Expletive.
I think it's not supposed to get up that way till like Monday.
I think you're right.
We fly at like 7:30.
It could be hopefully, I hope it's not a
shit show.
Yeah, and like everything is
Floridians,
backed up.
Yeah, just trying to make their way out.
Everybody just walking around in jean shorts. God, that'd be terrible.
It's a good thing we got our plane tickets because they're going to be jacking those prices up here pretty soon.
I would think so. That thing looks like a big old SOB, though, that Irma.
It's not pretty. We welcome in Josh McCuistion. Josh, you can take yourself off of mute.
Well, this time with me not actually being on the road, dude, we don't have to avoid road noise, so I can actually stay off mute this time.
Yeah, you sound beautiful. Josh, over the weekend, let's talk about what we saw on the field. As I'm sure, I don't know. I've been so busy today. Did you do a MMI this week?
I did. I just finished it this morning on Wednesday morning, the Monday Morning Idiot. So I guess it kind of fits its name. But yeah, went through it all. I mean, for me, guys, the thing that stood out was just how different the game was. You had Kyler Murray come in at halftime when the game was out of hand. You had subs coming in really early. It was just,
five freshmen
it's just
playing
a different
on defense.
Coach. Yeah, it was just so different to watch how the personnel kind of worked from Lincoln Riley to how we'd all gotten used to, 20 years of Bob Stoops.
It was odd. And my first thought was, Bob's here somewhere, and I bet he wants to know how Lincoln could lie to him all those years and say he was okay with him leaving his quarterback in the second half of blowouts.
It was I don't know.
What the hell, Lincoln?
It was very weird.
Told me it was okay.
It was very weird just getting video of shooting the sidelines and stuff. And at one point early in the game, I was like, I wonder where Bob is. And I was like, well, you're an idiot.
I guess they showed him on television.
You're a moron, Eddie. He's not on the sideline.
They show him on. Didn't they show him on television, Josh?
They did. They showed him up there. He was up in the press box, and it was him, Carroll, and
Clark Stroud.
Matt?
Clark Stroud.
It was Clark Stroud?
I didn't know. Yeah.
Man, he's Mr. Personality. I don't know if I'd want to watch a game with Clark Stroud.
Yeah, he's
a very loud person.
They seem to be a lot tighter though than I guess originally thought.
Yeah.
So because I even reading it was Cody Stavenhagen's article talking about how they went on vacation together a lot and stuff.
Okay.
So
I never knew about that relationship.
I didn't either. I did not either, and I thought that was very interesting. But it was very, very odd. Just the whole game day atmosphere. I thought without Bob, but at the same time, I thought it was, I guess, exciting in a way. Just to Lincoln hasn't changed, I guess, is what I would say.
The only thing that I was like really conscious of was knowing that Lincoln Riley was going to run out of that tunnel with big Trooper Orr next to him, because I saw Trooper Orr when I got to the stadium. I think he was coming in or something like that, so I was like, yeah, Trooper Orr is going to be his guy too. And Trooper Orr, remember, he's the guy that tackled the guy on the field.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So and the other thing is, like, I don't know if like Lincoln, like the way he was running, I just thought to myself, like, he's a better athlete than that. It was very long
Mike
strides.
Leach might disagree. That might be just part of the why he sucked at as a quarterback.
But he had kind of awkward strides.
Yeah. Well, and he didn't go through the tunnel. He went. it was hard for video, and I think everybody that's seen the video on the board and stuff would notice Bob would always run through like the actual banner and stuff. He kind of cut it off and just went straight to the sidelines.
Yeah.
Can't be doing that kind of stuff, Lincoln. We got to get our B-roll. Might say something to him.
Is that the next step? Is that from athletic head, we're now going into athletic gait? Like who has the most natural stride?
Well, I mean, we get to see people run all the time. I mean, it's like, I think everybody brought it up when Landry Jones ran the 40. It was horrible. It was horrifying. It was the most unathletic 40 I think I'd ever seen from a quarterback.
It was horrifying.
You know how you walk
straight up
really
and down. It was so weird. Like it was like a cartoon character. Like when their feet go, there should have been a cloud of dust underneath his feet.
Maybe the joke's on us though. He's still making a paycheck.
Yeah.
It always makes me think of, you know how you walk through really deep snow, like it's to your knees, like you gotta that's what it looked like, except he was doing it really fast. Like that's what it always makes me think of.
Yeah, like he didn't have his shoes on. He was trying to get from the car to the front door in snow.
There was one boot already behind him in the snow somewhere, and he just said, "Screw it, I'm going."
Is it Gabe Eicher's brother that tweeted the GIF of that?
Yes.
That's a forever top 10 GIF.
Did he do that when Roethlisberger got hurt? He's like, "Here comes Landry."
I think so. Yeah, I think so. That's exactly what
Sam Eicher. Yeah, he's a good dude. So I don't know. I mean, that's just the stupidity of our podcast. Something to talk about. But yeah, I mean, that was the only thing that really, for me, had any intrigue. I wanted to see him run out of the tunnel, and maybe it was so I could just tell myself, this is real. Bob's gone. I don't know. Because it's just been, like we've said, so seamless. And I was actually talking to George Schroeder the other day, works for USA Today, and he kind of agreed with me. It's like, it's just been so weird because everything has just been normal and the same.
Exact same.
There's nothing, Lincoln's never had a moment where you're just like, man, you might not know what you're doing.
Even the game week presser has, like, the only thing that has changed is the person talking at noon or 12:01.
Yeah.
And saying, thanks, Mike, instead of thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I noticed he finally got the last two. He didn't say anything in his media day press conference back in August.
Yeah, and he picked it up. Yeah. I think somebody said something to him. You got to thank Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, got to thank Mr. Dean.
And then, he goes into a lot more detail about the opposing team, names players. Am I wrong, or did he not name a player of the game after UTEP?
No, I don't think he did.
And I didn't want to be that guy like, Lincoln, you forgot to say the players of the game, because that's what they do.
You forgot our protocol.
Like, you're not going to tell the head coach how to do his press conference.
No. And
was it the first time in the modern era that hadn't happened?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, Dean probably, I don't know, Dean might have been there, but he probably was not happy. I'm surprised he didn't pipe in and say, hey, who were your players of the game?
He probably would have been like, well, everybody was.
He got the game ball, didn't he? I thought I saw something after the game.
Joe Castiglione, who was, Joe, if you're out there listening, I don't know what you were wearing on Saturday.
Oh, my God, it was awesome.
You liked it?
Oh, my God, yes.
The fedora and the crimson blazer?
I think I tweeted the only thing that would have put it over the top was a huge old caterpillar hanging off of his lip. That was
a girt?
No, a
cigar?
A mustache.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was. I mean, that was classic. I thought that was great.
I gotta say, I wasn't a huge fan.
There was somebody else wearing that coat on the sidelines too. I forgot who it was, but that was a great look. The fedora set it off. I thought that was awesome.
But on the day, just because I know you haven't seen all the stats, the Sooners end up racking up 676 yards on the day. UTEP only had 167. And like you said, it's hard to really judge it because you only had the starting defense out there for so long. I think that Parnell Motley, he looked really good, but let's face it, UTEP really didn't challenge them.
76 on the first drive, is that what it was for UTEP? Then basically nothing.
Yeah.
UTEP's offense, that UTEP just as a whole, that was a very bad football team. Like any first game you feel like is always going to be kind of an ass kicking, but when they were like lining up and putting guys in motion and stuff and huddling, actually legitimately getting in a huddle on offense.
What happened to the days of Carson Palmer's brother? What was his name?
Jordan
Palmer. Yeah.
That's right. That's a bad football team, but you could say that OU played well, I guess. as well as you can in a 49-point game.
Do you think UTEP's worse than Tulsa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I think Tulsa would beat UTEP by 2 or 3 touchdowns probably.
They don't have anybody even close to Chad President.
No, that quarterback was awful.
So, we got to talk about this too. The most shocking thing, I watched the first half before I went to the stadium Saturday because I just couldn't keep my eyes off of it. But Texas losing to Maryland, horrible for the conference. But I know most people listening to this podcast loved every minute of it. I mean, Josh, just what you know all these guys that are playing for them. It's a brand new coaching staff that's come in. How baffled are you? And it was like, I really thought, because I watched some of the stuff on the Longhorn Network, like, okay, Tom Herman is coming in, he's kicking ass, he's taking names, he's getting them disciplined, and they could not look like the Bad News Bears any more than they did.
Oh, absolutely, because even the plays they made, you talk about a pick six, a punt return, some of the stuff they were doing was, I don't want to say blind luck, but it's not like, oh, we put together a drive here and we really, kind of organized ourselves and got ourselves going. It was just good athletes making good plays. I mean, it was, and the pick six, the guy threw it right to Holton Hill and he walked into the end zone. Yeah. It wasn't even like that was an extraordinary play. So yeah, I mean, I thought the offense would struggle. That's what I talked about. I didn't.
But Buechele was pretty good numbers wise.
He was, and you're right. Like it was kind of one of those things. Like the game got over. I was like, man, he threw 300 yards. Their
offensive line is salty. Horrific. I mean, they are awful. Awful. They're worse than I thought they were going to be. I thought they would be improving, and the guy. How bad is their O-line coach is a guy that we probably all know his dad, Nick Wareheim, that coached at Del City for years. Yeah.
So,
how bad does John DeLance suck? If he can't stand out on that offensive line,
he can't crack the two deep on that offensive line.
And when Texas is finally trying to make get the foothold or try and get back in the game, was it Connor Williams? I wasn't able to watch the second half, but Connor Williams had 2 just huge penalties, didn't he? In the middle fourth quarter when they're trying to get back into the game.
I know he had one. I might have missed the second one because I was flipping back and forth between it and might have been the start of OU at that point.
Right.
But yeah, so it was. But yeah, I mean, even he and I'm a guy that Connor Williams is a huge talent. I mean, he really is. But he didn't have his best game. They just looked, as soon as Maryland went on that run and got up 21-7. It was, Carey, you talked about Herman getting them organized and Herman getting them disciplined. It looked like they were really kind of holding it together, and then they got down 21-7. It was kind of like, oh, this shit again. Like they just saw it, and they all kind of were like, well, we're just all going to do our own thing now. It looked like the whole team just kind of started going in 80 different directions.
How the hell does anybody still vote for Malik Jefferson as all Big 12 first team?
He made a nice play early in that game, and I said, okay, he's going to look better in this defense. And I tweeted something about it, and then I don't think I saw Malik again the rest of the game. And that's what shocks me. I thought that offense would have some issues. I really thought Todd Orlando, with all the talent they've got in their front seven, I thought, okay, he'll get this together. He'll make – I mean, they weren't going to be like a top 10 defense, but they were going to be pretty good, I thought. And they looked just lost against a guy a guy who you only know him as Piggy, Maryland's little short, kind of chunky quarterback.
Yeah.
Looked like Byron Eaton playing quarterback, basically, from years ago. So, I don't know.
Texas has got to play USC now. I mean, they got to play USC.
And there were a couple people on our board, one in particular, that was trying to tell me 2 weeks ago that was a coin flip. USC is going to beat the doors off of them.
It's going to be reverse Alabama USC from a year ago.
Yeah. Texas may be down 35-0 before they get up off the mat.
Not to spend just an incredible amount of time more on Texas, but look at their schedule. Their schedule after San Jose State, they're going to win this weekend. And if they don't, they should just burn the stadium to the ground. But they play at USC, at Ames on a Thursday night, K-State at home, Oklahoma State at home. I mean, is 1-6 out of the question? Not out of the question?
Oh, hell no. Guys, I had them at 6-6 to start this year. When I went over their schedule, I had 6-6 down, and that's including a Maryland win. Like, I thought they would get Maryland. And, you know, people kind of look at that score. I don't feel like that game was quite as close as that score makes it look like. Maryland was moving up and down the field on them. So, it may be 4-8. It may be 3. I mean, I think Herman will get them right a little bit. I do think he can coach. I do. But I think everybody bought into it, like the whole he was just going to fix everything, and all of a sudden Texas is going to be, 10-2, and I don't know how the hell you looked at that schedule in the first place. Never thought so.
The only thing that I ever really took issue with about the Herman thing was the people that thought he was such a better choice than Lincoln Riley to be a head coach.
Agreed.
Just like it was unfathomable. Unfathomable. I think
just
that's right.
watching you say that word.
That was hard to say. Like halfway through the word, I was like, I'm not going to say this right.
There's jiggling that goes on.
There
when
was
you say
very,
that word.
yeah, that was bad. That was like that has mentally effed me up.
Fighting your tongue.
That was really bad.
I don't even know what the hell we were talking about.
Just Lincoln Riley and Tom Herman.
Comparing Tom. Look, we're going to find out a lot. We're really going to find out the first thing that is of significance about Lincoln Riley this weekend. I mean, and I think that is, what's he going to bring to the game? One, like what wrinkles is he going to have? Is he going to do? So, like my thought this morning, guys, was, hell, put two tight ends in the game at the same time. That might be your best offensive weapon, is having Calcaterra and Andrews on the field at the same time.
I am very, I guess excited would be the way to say it, just as far as seeing what they do, because, you saw what you saw against UTEP. It was very vanilla,
yeah.
very,
I mean, he brought in a big package that I really liked. I like the Meyer, Ewells, Dimitri Flowers' running back package. I like that a lot.
And I think that was kind of a little bit what we talked about in one of the preseason podcasts, was the fact that you could do different things inside the red zone, and you're able to use the guys that you have to your advantage. But I don't think that there's any way that Kyler Murray doesn't get on the field on Saturday night in some type of role. It's going to be fun just to see how he uses his different pieces, and it's all going to kind of be on him. There's nobody that tells him he can't.
Here's a little Lincoln Riley on how everything is going so far as a head coach.
It still doesn't feel that much different. I mean, it feels like another fun first game, and I'll probably remember the young guys that stepped up and played well. And now, again, this probably the whole situation from June the 7th up until the day. The thing I'll remember the most is how our team and our staff have responded to all this change, and so today was a little bit of a culmination of that for me.
And I gotta think that that being able to have his first game at home was huge, because that really did make it less hectic. I mean, I know he's got people that deal with road travel and stuff like that, but I mean, if your first game is out on the road, like we're getting ready for our first road trip, it's going to kill me. And I don't really have that much to do other than pack a suitcase, make sure we got, the right equipment.
Right.
I got a laptop and a power cord.
Right.
And press credentials. And that almost kills me.
I would say credentials most important behind, or equipment, and then press credentials, right?
I have forgotten credentials before.
There will be not. I've never been to Columbus. I doubt that they have a hill that you have to walk up like they did at Ferret Field.
Oh my God, that was a nightmare. So yeah, I guess Josh is not able to hear the audio anymore. I'm sorry.
I cannot hear the audio. It was a good few weeks. It was a nice run, but apparently.
But you heard the start of the show, right?
I didn't hear that either.
Oh no.
Yep, we joked about it off air, and then all of a sudden it happened.
So strange.
Skype, you suck. Actually, it could be the fact that I haven't turned off the computer in like 3 days, so that might be what's causing it. Anyway, it's not time to diagnose anything. Okay, so the thing that I take out of the first game, most guys, is what we talked about. We just mentioned Calcaterra, but CeeDee Lamb, Calcaterra, whether Miles Teese got on the field before Michael Jones did, but just
he didn't.
Oh, he didn't?
Went back and checked.
Okay.
He didn't.
Okay.
Jones got in on that first drive, but I mean, I thought Teese played more in the first half.
Yeah, I think he did. But here's my overall thought is Baker Mayfield threw the shit out of the football with a bunch of guys he's barely ever played with before. That was impressive.
I would go with that, and I would even go a step further and just say there were no drops. And, you don't like...
I did have a little flashback to that 2009 season, after Sam went down, and then only Ryan Broyles could catch the ball. Like, they kept trying to throw it to DeJuan Miller, and he could never catch it. There's
going to be... I mean, obviously Saturday is a big test on where this wide receiver group is, but to be able to see guys actually go out and make plays was somewhat, I guess, encouraging if you're an OU fan.
Here is Lincoln. Sorry, Josh, to do this to you, but we've got lots of audio loaded up today. Here's Lincoln talking about the young wide receivers.
Play that Jeff made down the field, the 51-yard pass, the back-to-back plays that you got from Lamb, and then the touchdown to Calcaterra. What does that do, not just for the confidence of those receivers, but the confidence that Baker has in those guys?
Well, that's, you guys have heard me say it a million times in the last couple months. That's been a huge focus point for us, is getting him settled in with those guys. And you can't get settled in with them if you don't trust them. And you've got to give them chances. And Baker did that today. He gave those guys chances. He trusted them, and those guys, their confidence is going to grow. Baker's confidence in them is going to grow, and that'll be, obviously a good thing for us.
And that's something we talked about a lot. Like, no matter who the quarterback is, if he doesn't trust you, he's not going to throw the ball your way. And to me, that was huge growth by Baker, just to show trust in guys.
Yeah, very much. And, you talked a little bit to Jeff Badette about it on Monday night, was just the fact that, you make a play like that downfield and the ball was, clearly underthrown. But I do think that, that might put a little seed in the back of Baker's brain, just as far as, I trust this guy to go get it. Now, I would not advise them to make that play or to underthrow it against Ohio State, because it'll probably be picked off like it was last season. But at the same time, you do find you learn things about guys, and I thought Jeff Badette said it best when talking about CeeDee Lamb, just as far as going to and traveling to the Horseshoe to play, was there's just something about a game day and actually putting it on paper or on film and actually doing it.
By the way, Jeff Badette, now my favorite interview on the team.
He's really good.
He informed us that Kenneth Murray's been given the nickname K9, and that's what everybody's calling him now. I should have had that audio ready.
I missed that.
Josh,
see, I don't think I was over there.
Oh, okay. You're not over there yet? Okay. But, no, and we were talking about Emmanuel Beal, how he needs a nickname. They just call him EB. But, Josh, you did the Monday Morning Idiot. Let me ask you this. And I think that this is kind of the quandary that Mike Stoops finds himself in, is that Emmanuel Beal might be their best linebacker, just as an every down guy. And to take him off the field for Caleb Kelly, I don't know that that's the right decision right now.
Oh, Carey, it pains me to disagree with people. I'm a pretty agreeable person, but I don't know that there's any way you ever take Caleb Kelly off the field. I can't help but wonder if that was a ploy. Like, part of me is like they weren't showing him
Get
Caleb.
Your butt ready, or just they didn't want to show him and exploit him.
That's what I like. That's how I feel, is they were going to say, oh, 19 comes off the field. Oh, he's the kid that made all the plays against Auburn, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know why it feels like gamesmanship to me, because there's literally a route where Caleb Kelly, and I think it's in the second quarter, and I broke it down in the idiot. He literally takes
he ran stride for stride. Was it a receiver or a running back?
Yeah, not even a tight end, a wide receiver.
And he
goes
swallowed
stride for stride.
Up. Yeah, swallowed him up on the sideline. It was impressive.
It was perfect. Yeah, and so you can't tell me the kid can't cover. And don't get me wrong, he's not going to do that against Ohio State. They're receivers, they're athletes. It's a different thing. I understand that.
Different breed of cat.
But Emmanuel Beal's not doing that at all. So I don't know how you can like I said, part of me, it just feels like, okay, we're going to let you see this, and then when we see you Saturday night, it's going to be something different. Because I just don't know how you make that judgment. And, again, Caleb Kelly's one of those guys, even if you take away, okay, I just think he's a better player than Emmanuel Beal, he's also a guy that seems to always be around a big play. Makes a tackle for loss, or he does something out in space where he makes a play that not many guys could make. I think that's where I become a fan of his. He makes those plays that can turn the tide of a game. That's why I have trouble ever with him coming off the field.
Let me ask you if you saw this on the replay or not, but you talk about Caleb Kelly. Like, Marquise Overton recovered that fumble, but I thought he also caused it. And they announced that Caleb Kelly forced the fumble.
They did.
I thought
I
it was
know that they
Overton,
did.
too. I'm pretty sure that was an Overton deal. And speaking of,
I'm looking at the official stats.
I thought he
They
looked
still
really
gave-
good.
No, he looked good. Tyrese Lott looked good.
He did. Tyrese Lott had a tackle for loss that he didn't get credit for. He had about a 3 or 4 yard tackle for loss where he just beat a guard to the inside and got to the running back before he really could even make a move. It was a really
I remember
nice
that.
play.
I remember that.
Yeah, they credited Caleb Kelly with the forced fumble.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats right
Yeah.
now. And it was Overton. He forced it and recovered it, I thought.
They must have given credit to Caleb Kelly for forcing it because he's the first one out of the pile and does the chest bump or the pounding his chest as he came and looking at the crowd. So they must have just looked down and said, "Oh, this guy must have played." You got to be careful with that stuff though too because they credited A.D. Miller as playing in the game and he didn't suit out. So
First game, stat jitters. I mean, our camera broke kind of. So I mean, the audio sucked. It was a horrible first run in a lot of ways.
I don't believe the audio was our camera, was it?
No. The audio was the people that the audio. I don't know, the audio visual people, whatever their titles are.
I'll take a quarter. I'll take a quarter of the blame.
No, Eddie doesn't need any of the blame. The memory card just went to pot.
We've been good all week though.
The memory card that we've had for like 4
Yeah,
years.
it's been
that we
around
probably
for a while.
should- was my fault for not replacing it. Here's the other thing. Did you notice? I know you watched this back, but boy, Neville Gallimore's lucky he didn't get a targeting call.
Thank you. You're the only other one I've heard bring that up. And I mean, he went crown of the helmet and he launched. I mean, almost by any definition, that's ejectable.
Oh, on the screen out in the flat.
It was a running back was spinning around, and as he spun around, Neville just tattooed him. But
yeah, I haven't heard anybody else bring that up, and I was like, man, I think he got really lucky there.
That was in the second half too.
Yeah, he'd have missed the first half of Ohio State.
That would have not been good.
Okay, so moving ahead to Ohio State. I don't know, anything else that you wanted to throw out there about UTEP, Josh? Or Eddie?
No, I would say the only thing I would say, and you talked about Baker Mayfield throwing around really well. I thought Baker Mayfield's numbers were a little better than he was. Like, he can play even better than he did. The Badette throw was bad. Andrews should have walked in for a touchdown on that first drive when Baker overthrew it. Like, not to say that he was bad or anything. He was still very, very good. But I mean, there were some throws that I guarantee you he would say, I left that out there on the field. Like, that there was more to be done that he could have had. So I mean, that's, to me, I see that as a positive for Oklahoma. As good and efficient as he was, he could easily be better.
The only two things that I thought defensively were, one, they didn't give up any big pass plays, which was good. Just even though UTEP probably their ability to even throw down the field probably not there, and they didn't try.
They didn't want to get sacked, and they didn't want to throw down the field.
They wanted that game to be over by 9 o'clock and just call it a day. Or I mean,
it was started at 2:30.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. The other thing, 4 of 12 UTEP on third down. At least they're getting off the field at somewhat of a decent pace. They've played worse teams, I think, and have been kept around. So we'll see.
So there was no kiss of death
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
for that game.
Yeah, not for that game. Yeah, it was good.
Obo gets his sack, his only person sacked, which I think is my only real criticism of the defense. Not enough pressure.
Yeah, but again, they were pretty vanilla and they didn't really throw a whole lot at him. But you would
I don't remember a whole lot of blitzing.
You would have hoped that they could have got more pressure just off of their base defense and not having to force a lot of things.
I am really curious about this week because I've watched back some of the Ohio State games, and just watching their offense operate, their ability to misdirect and things like that. You get JT Barrett out kind of on his own on the edge a lot, and I'm curious how the speed of Kelly and Beal or Kenneth Murray, how those guys handled the edge out there.
Do they trust Mark Jackson enough?
He played really well, I thought, in game one.
I could see them just. I mean, I don't know. I could see them putting Obo and Mark Jackson just saying, "Please God, don't F this up."
His bad moment was scary though, because it's exactly what you're talking about. He bit really hard on a bootleg, and he went underneath it, and the guy got outside, and you've got to think that's going to be going through Mike's head all week when he's talking about personnel. Like, just because that's exactly what Ohio State would love to do to him, or to any DN, suck him in and let Barrett get outside and have a run pass option.
What was your overall impression of Murray against the run? Watching it back and kind of charting it.
Early on, he was real tentative. The first touchdown run, he was late getting into the lane, and then when he did, UTEP had gone heavy on the play side. They brought in, like we talked about OU doing a few weeks ago. They brought in another offensive lineman, stacked him, and then had an H-back. Those two guys doubled Caleb Kelly, and because Murray was slow to get to where he needed to be, he got swallowed up by the double as well, and then Walter Dawn was just off to the races. So he was a little slow. I thought as the game went on, he got better. I mean, you can see what OU likes. It's just going to be, because right now you can tell he's in his head. Like, okay, this is where I've got to be on this set, rather than just I'm doing this, let me go run to the ball, that kind of thing. So he'll get there. But, I mean, there were definitely, especially early on, some of his run fits were kind of slow.
Well, to me, I mean, he absolutely is the key to defense for them against Ohio State. I mean, you can have Caleb Kelly come up and play a monster game. Emmanuel Beal can play really well. But if he's not doing his job, they're going to suffer, especially with those two backs that they've got.
And they will do it over and over and over
yeah,
again.
Myers the kind of guy, and Wilson's the kind of guy that'll just keep attacking the same weakness over and over.
Oh, yeah, they'll target the hell out of him early. I mean, you're going to find out if he's ready real fast because Ohio State will be testing him.
Here's some of Mike Stoops talking about Kenneth Murray and finally getting his first game under his belt. How good was it just for Kenneth to get a first real game under his belt at middle linebacker?
Well, I think that's a learning situation for all of them. Now they know, you could see the anticipation and when you're like that, it's hard to play the way you want to play, and that's the lesson for that. And Kenneth knows that you got to, be excited, but you got to show some poise, and you got to go out and play and do your job. And if you get too emotional or too, one way or another, you can't really execute the way you want to, and that's the most important part is playing well.
And here is his teammate Emmanuel Beal talking about Kenneth Murray. Maybe. If I hit the right button.
Kenneth, he's a grown man. He might be a freshman, but Kenneth, he's a grown man out there. Like, size-wise, mentally, he was focused. He was ready to play that game.
How much does that help him, though, just playing in his first game finally? How much do you remember it helping you once you finally did it at this level?
I really liked it from him because he got a chance to get his feet wet. Of course, any freshman, they'd be a little bit nervous, but he got a chance to get his feet wet to see what, actual college football is, and he came out well.
Emmanuel Beal is a guy you kind of worry about him a little bit just because he's going back to Columbus and playing for the first time. He's going to have a lot of family up there. He said so far he's got 8 tickets, and he's having a hard time getting more because everybody's parents want to go to this game. So very few people have extra tickets to give him.
The inner workings of a locker room have to be, I'm sure, do they have to be careful about that with compliance freaking out about, hey, I'll give you this if you get me your away tickets?
No, I don't think student athletes can cheat, with other student athletes. I mean, now if he goes and robs a bank, or takes a $100 handshake to be able to do it.
Well, the chances of that happening are pretty down with.
You think he says, "I'll give you my $100 handshakes for the next week"?
Yeah, he might.
Since Chris Sims was getting him, everybody must get them.
Everybody, yeah.
But no, I mean, to me, and we don't have to talk any more about it, but to me, that is the number one thing that I'm watching for. I'm probably going to have my binoculars firmly planted on Kenneth Murray when they take over on defense for the first time. Elsewhere, Baker Mayfield, I thought, had some really strong statements this week. And just in terms of Ohio State and what that game meant last year, what this game is about. And here's Baker Mayfield talking about the loss last year to Ohio State.
Everybody that was here for last year's huge loss definitely remembers that. And that's something we talked about during camp. We've never been here for a team to sing their fight song on our field. Quite frankly, it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. We let down our fans, our coaches, and everybody that supports our program to allow them to sing OHIO on our field, and their fans were louder than ours, and rightfully so. They had more reason to be louder, but it's different year. Obviously, yeah, we're still thinking about that. It hurts, but we still got to go play football.
Also, I have a story that I'm getting ready to publish and was kind of looking for pictures from last year's game to go with the story. And the Associated Press still has plenty of pictures of the Ohio State defense holding up the basic defense sign that someone in the stands had.
God, that was looking back on it, that was pretty fun. That was funny in a way too, just how they brought the sign out at the end. I mean, who wouldn't if you were Ohio State to do something like that? Baker is in big game Baker mode.
Oh yeah, he really is.
Have you seen the ESPN little promo highlight? And he's quoted on this as saying, if you want to see a sneak peek at who's going to be playing for a national title, you want to tune into this one. Baker Mayfield I'm sure it's a game day piece or something coming up for Saturday, but
he's asking for it.
He's in Baker mode right now.
He's in prime. Love him if he's yours. Think he's a giant penis if he's not.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter commenting today that Baker Mayfield's turned into the biggest drama queen since RG3 in the Big 12.
He's always been that way though.
I think
it's not like it just happened. It's just because the spotlight is brighter than it's ever been.
He embraces it because look at it this way: if they're able to pull off what I think would be a miracle and win on Saturday, he's probably in the driver's seat for the Heisman.
I think so.
Because it means that he has played very, very well. They're not winning without him playing very well.
I thought, okay, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought what he said this week about playing under pressure was maybe it was almost like his version of creationism.
It was peak cockiness.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like him telling us with a straight face dinosaurs never existed. I'm sorry, go ahead, Josh.
You know what? I'm one of those guys. I love quotables. Like I quote stuff to myself. I'm real big on things that help your day get better. I'm a borderline motivational speaker groupie. Like that's kind of where I'm at. But it reminds me of something. It's a Steve Prefontaine quote where he's talking about.
Oh, I love my Steve Prefontaine.
Exactly. Like he's like, I'm not as talented as the other guys. I just, if you're going to beat me, you have to bleed to do it. Like that kind of stuff. Like,
no, you're misrepresenting it a little bit because I've watched Without Limits at least 100 times. And I believe what he says, he first says, my heart can pump more blood through it than any man's alive. And then he says, now I'm kind of falling apart here, but he says, I can handle more pain than anyone that you've ever met.
Yeah. And it's that.
And I fell in love with Steve Prefontaine at that point.
Isn't he a runner?
And that guy's
Eddie, I will smack you down.
I said, isn't he a runner?
Don't even start.
A distance runner?
Why don't you go watch McFarland USA and then come back and tell me that running isn't a sport?
Okay. I'll report back next week.
He's just a really interesting guy, and he had that mindset kind of like what Baker's talking about, like, you know what? It's just in my mind that I'm better than you. Like, I may not actually be, but I believe I am, so that's enough. And I think that's what I took from Baker. Like, just, you know what? I think I can do it, so I can do it.
Let's let the listeners decide, but we won't let Josh decide because he won't hear it. Here's Baker Mayfield. I don't know if my question's in here or not because I was trying to ask him about, where did all this, road warrior stuff come from for you guys?
I'm sorry. Ovo said that he enjoys going on the road, playing in front of big hostile crowds like this. You think that's something that was born out of maybe you guys being at Tennessee and going, obviously you played well when you went back to Lubbock with all the chants going on there and things?
I don't think it came from that. I think you're either born with it or you're not. There's a time when you face adversity and you go into a hostile environment and you either go into your shell or you come out and you shine. So without pressure, there's no diamonds. And so I think you're either born with it or you're not. And I think this team's played well on the road for a reason. And I think we have a bunch of guys that we've instilled the mentality that, you got to love it. In college football, you got rivalries and you got trash talk and you got to enjoy it. So you got to go in there and just want to do your job and try to silence the crowd.
And, that crowd comes on the hill. And Lincoln Riley had brought this up recently just about how he appreciated Bob Stoops sticking with him when they hadn't done anything through 3.5 quarters at Tennessee. Like, And when he's saying that, and I'm thinking like, dude, you really struggled for a long time at Tennessee. It's not like you just went in there and dominated. I mean, he made a lot of good plays and stuff and kept drives alive. But, I mean, there was a reason that ESPN continued to flash down to Trevor Knight as that game was going along.
It was not pretty for 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden,
the floodgates open.
The floodgates open, and they hit. What was it? It was the 80. Was it?
I think it was
Miller
the little.
Was the second.
I think it was the little. He did the. He scrambled to the sideline. And he hit Sterling Shepard. Hit Sterling Shepard, who somehow stayed in bounds and caught the pass. And by that time, the crowd had had enough of Baker Mayfield and his scrambling. They just were out of their minds. And then maybe was the first score when he kept it on his own read and walked in.
I thought the first touchdown to get it back was a little dump pass to
It's been
Samaje.
too long for me. Yeah,
it was
it
to
probably was.
Samaje in the corner end zone.
You're right. Yeah,
and then of course the Sterling touchdown tied it up, and then he scored in overtime, didn't he? In the first overtime, Baker did.
Well, that was the leap from Sterling, right?
That was the second overtime, I thought.
Okay,
to win it technically.
But anyway,
yeah,
I mean,
if Baker is in pure Baker pregame mode, and they said it multiple times this week, but it's pretty amazing. He's never lost a true road game, which doesn't do a whole lot for me because he has lost road games technically, but it's very interesting. He's never walked onto a campus and lost a game as the starting quarterback of Oklahoma. It's always been on a neutral site.
We could get back to that, but let's talk about real quick the controversy that's come out, because I want to bring Josh in on this too, because he would be able to know this better than anybody. The controversy that Orlando Brown, the trumped-up controversy that has started, because Orlando Brown just happens to say something that shocked people, and it's one of those really inside football things that most people wouldn't know unless they paid a lot of attention, but it pissed off everybody in Columbus and around there. Here's Orlando Brown. I'll probably cut this off a little bit earlier, but here's Orlando.
I think they have a great defensive line. I think it's definitely going to be one of the best that we see. I think, last year they were one of the best we've seen, obviously up there with KU. They got a ton of talent across the board. They've got, first rounders and, pretty much every defensive end, on scholarship. I think their interior-wise, they're really good, a lot of experience. It's just going to be a game that we have to go out there and play with a ton of confidence.
So, everybody was talking about that. I mean, it's maybe the top offensive line against maybe the first top defensive line. I think most people agree Clemson they think they have the best defensive line in college football. But when he brought up KU, and I think Dennis Dodd had a role in this too. Maybe he misquoted him a little bit on a tweet. But Dennis Dodd's from Kansas City. Like, he should know these things. Like, that's not an insult immediately. But, like, Josh, it just started a firestorm. Like, oh, my God, he's disrespecting Ohio State by comparing them to KU's defensive line a year ago.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think also for Orlando, it's very individual. Like, I bet if you asked Bobby Evans or not Cody Ford or Ben Powers or one of those guys, they might not mention Kansas first. Orlando Brown faced Dorrance Armstrong a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Dorrance Armstrong's maybe a first-round pick.
He's the Big 12
played Ohio
Defensive
State.
Player of the Year.
Yeah, so he's really, really good. So for Orlando to say that, it's going to be much more about I had to face that dude. He doesn't know if the defensive, the three technique at Kansas is every bit as good at the guy as Ohio State. He didn't have to deal with that. He just wouldn't know. But what I think you're right about is Dennis Dodd tweeted it out, and he didn't misquote him, but he just made it like a slight. And it's clear listening to Orlando, he didn't mean it that way. He meant, I think Kansas is really good, and so is Ohio State. Like, it didn't have to be one or the other. But obviously, I think, and OU fans can act like it's crazy, but if some Ohio State player compared Oklahoma's offensive line to Purdue, they're going to be like, oh, you're crazy, and they may not realize Purdue has two NFL, prospects on their offensive line.
I guess say that on the heels of Kirk Herbstreit's statement that Ohio State will not face a better wide receiver quarterback combo than he's facing tonight.
Yeah. That I know you kind of took his back on that. I think that's kind of crazy talk.
Simi Cobbs Jr. is awesome.
He's very good. Does the gap between him and, say, Jeff Badette equal to the gap between Richard Legault and Baker Mayfield? It doesn't to me. Like, I don't even think it's that close.
I don't know. I mean, when Jeff Badette has 2 catches against that defense that he has no normal human being has business making, then yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean
Mark
that's
Andrews.
fine.
Mark Andrews might. I mean,
Yeah,
he very well could have twice the total yards that Cobbs had.
Sure. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I get that Cobbs he would be OU's number 1 receiver. I mean, that's fine. You can make that case. But Richard Legault would be OU's 3rd quarterback, 4th maybe. I mean, you're not talking about a guy that's particularly special. OU, hell, for those that don't remember, OU brought him into campus when Josh Heupel was OC and worked him out when he was still at high school at Plano High.
But see, I don't argue it that way. I just say, okay, well, Baker Mayfield is better than Richard Legault, and I don't know how you weigh that. Is there a sliding scale like that? He's 60% better than Legault, and is Cobbs only 20% better than Jeff Badette or CeeDee Lamb?
No, I mean, and that's what it gets into. I mean, it's just who. I mean, clearly
all I
OU has
took
the
it was
edge at quarterback.
Simi Cobbs Jr., as of last week, was the best wide receiver out of if you put both teams together. Now,
sure,
CeeDee Lamb, he could be better. There's no doubt he could be even a better player than Cobbs.
Yep. Like I said, you guys know, I mean, I spent all summer hyping CD, and I think he's going to end up better than I thought he would. I mean, that's a mouthful because I've been singing his praises for a while. The guy, and to give you credit, Carey, I thought Calcaterra would take more time than he did to make an impact. I thought, they'd ease him in a little bit, but that's clearly not going to be the case.
He's just got such amazing hands.
He does.
The only
He
thing that
really
I can
does.
compare what it looks like when he catches a ball is when Rob Gronkowski catches a ball. He just swallows it. His hands just swallow it.
It was I don't think that people just realize how tough that catch was, the touchdown Calcaterra had.
And how great that throw was.
It was a very good throw. And then you have Mark Andrews, who just, I guess we can't talk about him not having a 100-yard game anymore. I mean, he had it in the first half. If Josh, I think you said it on Twitter, if he can do that 12, 13 more times, he's going to be a first-rounder this year.
Yeah, this will be his last year. He puts 2 or 3 more of those together, and it's going to be real hard to keep him around.
By the way, we were talking about Orlando Brown, and to me, huge key this weekend is going to be him keeping his cool, because players are going to target him because they know he's prone to get personal fouls. Refs are going to be watching it. And so we were interviewing Ben Powers the other day. I think was he the last one that came in?
Yeah, on Monday.
And Ben Powers does not really, I don't think he likes being interviewed. Maybe he doesn't. I think he's not comfortable being interviewed, so a lot of his answers are short. And he almost gives you this attitude like, yeah, I know I just gave you a short answer. Deal with it. And I thought we're going to have to get creative and talk to him about some other stuff. And so I asked him about Orlando Brown and what it's like when he's next to him and he's losing his mind. And I thought that was kind of interesting. We were talking to Orlando today, and he's a guy that's kind of been targeted just because he's had some personal fouls in the past. How much do you have to play peace officer out there sometime with him?
When you're out there, you always have to kind of calm him down when he gets too out of hand. But at the same time, the refs are always looking at him. So,
how do you calm him down?
Are you saying you can get away with stuff?
Oh no, you never get away with anything out there.
How do you calm him down?
You just say, Orlando, you got to look at the bigger picture. Look at the bigger picture. It's not worth it.
How much of a listener is he?
When he gets in that mode, he doesn't really listen. It's kind of tough to calm him down, but you do the best you can.
Eddie, were you not over there when I was talking to him?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made what could have been my worst
analogy
ever to a man that's that big and that powerful.
He is extremely, I think just from hearing him talk, I believe him to be extremely intelligent.
I think he's very intelligent, but he's also very scary.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Because you know what he could do to you. And so, I don't know, have you seen the movie The Accountant, Josh, with Ben Affleck?
I have seen that movie, and Ben Affleck is creepy as hell in that movie.
And I'm going to tell you, Ben Powers actually, he has very utilitarian glasses. They're not fancy at all. They're just, and they're very, like I said, they're made for the purpose of of your site being better. There's nothing fashionable about them. They're not like the Bill Gates kind of weird. They're like the modern version of those kind of. And so, like when he's giving those answers, it sounds like very, analytical. And he's just standing there and staring at you, and it's kind of uncomfortable. And so I said, what do you like to do off the field? And I said, because you're kind of reminding me right now of Ben Affleck in The Accountant. And and everybody was like gasped, like, and he started laughing, and he said, and he thought it was funny because he'd seen The Accountant. I guess he knows kind of what his personality is like.
He took it as a compliment.
But then I realized Ben Affleck's character was a autistic serial killer. That was a horrible comparison for you to make.
You know what? I think it would be good for Oklahoma's offensive line if they had an autistic serial killer on their team. USC has a, and I'm using air quotes.
Here we go.
USC has a blind kid on their team, so you should have a serial killer.
Just like Stevie Wonder, huh?
It could be. Josh, I told Carey earlier this week, I don't know if I'm buying the whole USC blind deep snapper thing.
Now, Eddie, do you believe anyone is blind? Like, is it just all a conspiracy, or just some people
there are blind? There are blind people.
Okay.
But none of them would dare to be a long snapper.
Well, and just like the people that
they had
famous.
They had an entire ESPN special on this kid when he was 12.
Premeditated.
Oh my God.
It could be premeditated.
When Pete Carroll was the coach at USC,
he was already cheating.
He would come out there and hang around practice after he went blind. He did go blind until he was 12. So you're saying he faked going blind?
He was half blind, and then he lost his full vision at 12, I thought.
Something like that.
I do remember actually watching that
degenerative
that
blindness
special,
or whatever.
Did you hate him then, Eddie, or have you just become jaded over time?
Probably just jaded over time.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you hated a 12-year-old.
There are 12-year-olds that I hate, but not him.
You want to fight a 90-pound wrestler, dude. There aren't many in the 18-year-old class.
I know, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Do you want to fight the USC blind guy?
Oh, I could fight a blind person for sure. You just got to get him to the ground.
No, see, Eddie, I feel like that would be the opposite way to go.
You don't need to get a blind person to the ground. He can't see you coming.
Well, that just tells you my fighting experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, go to the ground is going to play to his hands better.
Okay.
Because he can get his hands on you.
I might need to review my game plan.
Yeah, I think I think you want to go stand-up boxing there, Eddie. If you can get a kickbox in, that's great. But I think...
no wonder you want to fight 90-pound wrestlers.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a theme here. Why do you want to wrestle everybody?
That's the only contact sport experience that I have, or fighting.
Now, that's an important question. Eddie, have you been in a fight before?
No, never.
Okay. So do you think this is just some, pin up, you need to get a fight in with somebody?
Yeah, I need to get it under my belt so I have experience, I guess.
Yeah, just know where you are as a man. I got you.
But, yeah. Ben Powers is a scary guy. I would not want to fight Ben Powers.
I agree. He's there's something there that you don't know really kind of what he is capable of.
I've told you guys that story when I interviewed him when he committed, and he was talking about, I'd asked him a really mundane question. I can't remember what it was, just kind of how he would describe his game or something. And he was like, I just want to kick everybody's ass.
I remember that, yeah. And I remember you were debating over whether you should print that quote. If he
asked me not to. That's the reason I was like, okay, Mr. 6'5", 300-pound offensive lineman, you got it, buddy. I'll keep that one between you and me. Mama doesn't have to know.
I do agree with you, though. They need to stay away from personal fouls. Matt Romar. I mean, that's the kind of stuff
what was he doing?
That's the kind of stuff that extends drives, and then all of a sudden you get beat. Look at the Houston game a year ago in the opener. They had Obo had the targeting hit or late personal foul, I think roughing the passer that extended the drive or a drive. That stuff will get you beaten, especially in Columbus.
I've got this for you, Eddie.
I want to wrestle you so freaking bad. I'd let you in just so I could feel you on top of me.
Penn State Minute. Your Penn State Minute has been brought to you by.
You're the one that's always talking about wrestling. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I just played Chris Hansen to Catch a Predator, talking about wrestling.
Was he reading Sandusky?
He was reading, not Sandusky. He was just reading a sexual predator's chat.
Session. I always thought that was something from Penn State. Honestly,
the Chris Hansen thing.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
He'd get creepy 40-year-old dudes that were trying to hook up with 30-year-olds.
Well, yeah, I watched that show. Great show.
Oh, but you thought the wrestle thing was just...
Yeah, I thought that was like a Sandusky, like, part of a book or something.
No. So anyway, Ohio State coming up this weekend. I mean, look, Baker is going to have to play really well. And let's face it, he is, judging by the tweet that you just showed me, he is more than going to be willing to take the blame if this thing goes south.
I usually don't watch game day, but I might have to watch game day Saturday morning from the hotel just because it feels like there's going to be an explosive interview if they're putting out those types of clips with Mayfield. He's going to be on the cockiest of cocky.
Which is really strange because he tried to put this on everybody but he and JT Barrett. It's like, this game isn't about us. It's about the guys in the trenches.
I think that's just the way he clicks. And maybe they might have done that interview, at Big 12 Media Day or something too. So
let's face it, if anybody's getting away with that, it's Baker.
Oh yeah. I think he would be more comfortable if he hits the field to a chorus of boos on Saturday than a chorus of cheers.
And it's not just a Lincoln thing. I mean, like, if Bob was there, Bob let him just do stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. By the way, speaking of Bob, I'm sorry, go ahead, Josh.
No, just real quick. I was going to say, he's one of those rare guys that's better when he's angry. Most guys, like, they can't do it. Like, they get in their head and they're trying to prove something. He's really good when he's pissed off about something.
I mean, there's some Johnny Manziel there, except the self-destructive stuff we don't think is there. I mean,
Fayetteville's the only
finally
evidence.
happened, but I got the sense after that happened. No, I didn't get the sense. I know. I mean, after it happened, he definitely shut down, Baker in air quotes.
Yeah,
like Super Baker.
Well,
and I think he felt shame about it and remorse. But now that I think the season's here, I think he's known, okay, I can be myself again. I can be arrogant me or whatever you want to call him.
Just look at that interview that we were looking at before we started recording this, Carey, from the Ohio State postgame last year. He's all scruffed up and has the hair going everywhere. Now he's clean shaven. That might just be me reading into it too much, but he definitely has changed on the outside as far.
Where was that tweet? I'm gonna go find that tweet because I want to play this.
What the ESPN? I saw it on ESPN's Instagram. Is where I initially found it.
You suck, Instagram people.
Let's see here. I'm sure ESPN's put it out though. I think OU football actually even retweeted it. Have you seen it, Josh? Yeah, College Game Day retweeted it or tweeted it 3 hours ago.
College Game Day did.
Yeah.
It's not on their Instagram. You lied to me.
It was on ESPN's.
Here we go. Here's Baker Mayfield.
The college football playoff and who really, who's going to be in that thing is at stake. One or both of these teams is going to be playing in mid-January. If you want to sneak peek at who's going to be playing for a national title, I'd say you want to tune into this one. The college football playoff.
All right. That doesn't seem that inflammatory.
No, it doesn't, but...
And ESPN sitting there all giddy like...
Oh, they'll run that.
He's promoting it for us.
They'll run that the next 3 days. There's no doubt about it. 72 hours of Baker Mayfield.
I was telling Eddie, like, I dream in the stupid 30 Seconds from Mars song now, Josh. I can't get that thing out of my... You know the one that plays with the commercial?
Oh, yeah.
The Ohio State, I think it's... I'm playing it right now. So, yeah, I that's just going through my head all the time.
There are some songs that are just made for commercials and, like, football pump-up, like the The one that there's another one that they play a lot. I forgot who sings it now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but there are some songs that are just made for that, and that's one of them.
I like it. Of course, I'm going to hate it because it's going to play all season long.
Oh yeah,
it's the official ESPN. It got replaced a little bit because Taylor Swift probably paid a lot of money to have that travesty of a song that she released.
What a bitch.
You don't like
how the
Taylor
hell
Swift?
does Taylor Swift get synonymous with college football? How is that happening?
It didn't even make any sense. Like the lyrics and stuff.
Probably the same way that they let a blind dude deep snap and nobody asked the real questions about it.
Nobody got to the bottom of it.
We're all just sheep, and we let everything happen.
Only Eddie could be offended by a handicapped man getting to play in a college football game.
I'm not offended by it. I have questions about it.
Would you really, if OU was doing that, you would not become investigative reporter guy about that?
No, probably not.
So you know that the people that are covering USC are not going to do that.
No, but I saw Ryan Abrams tweet something about it, just about how he puts his head back and forth during interviews, and he pointed it out as it was a good thing, which it is, but we're just being a little controversial. We're just being controversial.
So if OU plays USC in the first round of the college football playoffs,
we will have a Scoop HD one-on-one.
You're going to try
with Jake.
You're going to try and prove by maybe knocking things over in front of him to see if he grabs them,
like numbers in front of his face.
Who are we kidding? Eddie's going to throw something at him. Like Eddie's going to make sure if he's not blind, he's going to get hit.
God, do it in the post game, please. I need you for the game.
Yeah, we'll wait until the game's over.
Don't get kicked out at media day.
Eddie throws his shoe.
I'll get Sam Darnold on the a one-on-one, just away from everything, and ask him the real truth.
He's blind, Eddie. He's blind. Just let him be blind.
Okay, we will.
It's a good story.
It is a good story.
It's not impossible for a blind person. It's not like he's playing the piano. He only has to do one thing, snap a ball between his legs over and over again.
And they can't contact him, so he's safe from that regard.
That is true. He's done things I've never done.
It's not like he's the starting quarterback.
That would be a story.
That I would call bullshit on.
Oh, God. Eddie and I are headed to Cincinnati, and not Columbus right away. We're leaving tomorrow morning. We're going to go take in Tavian Thomas's game as his team plays at Mount Healthy High School. Or is it like Mount Healthy Christian Academy or something like that?
Probably something like that.
But like everything there is named Mount Healthy, Josh. So I don't think it's a health foods thing.
Okay. Well, that would have been a lot funnier if you guys had to eat vegan.
Somebody named a mountain Healthy. Probably some, like there was a Joe Healthy. A Victor Healthy.
That doesn't happen enough anymore. People naming shit after themselves just shamelessly.
Like entire towns?
Yes. That you don't see that as much anymore. Like it's like Roaring Springs or something like trying to paint a picture rather than like this is McCuestionville.
But no, Eddie's going to be on the video camera. I'll take some photos. Josh, what are your weekend plans?
Well, it's very interesting because obviously there's still, we talked about it a lot last week. There's still so much happening in Houston that there's almost no games on the schedule. I was planning to go see Starlin Baldwin this weekend and get a chance to watch him against a elite wide receiver from Leaf Taylor, Brennan Eagles. So I was kind of looking forward to that, getting to see him go against somebody real. But as it is, it looks like I'm going to head back up to Dallas. I still haven't quite figured out. The other possibility, and I'm starting to lean in that direction a little bit actually, is going over to Waco and catching Tanner Mordecai and getting to see him for the first time in a game.
How was your trip up to DFW last week? And I thought of all the video and interviews that you got up at Aledo. And
by the way, I'm going to say this publicly, Josh. I am now finally proud of you for your camera skills. You're doing an excellent job.
That was hard for you, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't at all. As I'm getting older, it's easier for me to tell other people they do a good job.
I appreciate that.
I'll put it on the board too, but Flower Mound Marcus's inflatable is the most ridiculous monstrosity I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like a 3-story.
Is it a dragon?
No, it's like
dragon
it's a
thing?
3-story almost inflatable that they run out of, and
It's like an M.
It's incredible.
Carey, he's not exaggerating. It's 3 stories tall. It's 30 feet tall.
Holy crap.
It takes them like 15 minutes to inflate it with like 2 of those big air pushers. Like, I mean, it's
Air compressors.
crazy. Yeah. Well, is that what they are? Because it's the big, like the circular that have the air. I mean, I've got an air compressor. I know what that looks like, but they're maybe it's a different class of air compressor. I don't even know what the hell you call them. They're just the big one. They're like the hard plastic, and then they hook up the ends to it. And I'm spending a lot of time on a really stupid topic, so I'm going to just move away from it. But no, so I kind of think Tanner Mordecai is where I'm going to be this weekend. But to go back, I'm sorry, I kind of lost track of what we were talking about. Last weekend, I thought the Justin Osborne interview went really well. He's really, really into Oklahoma. For those who haven't watched it, it's a free story on the front page of Sooner Scoop. He is a big offensive tackle, 2019 offer, came to the barbecue, kind of compared Bill Bedenbaugh to one of his former coaches that he almost got a little emotional making the comparison. Like you could hear him kind of clench up for a second. And I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. And he kind of talked about Norman feeling like home. And when you start using that phrase, that's usually a big tip. Like I think Oklahoma's very much right there with him. The other 2 I did were obviously Oklahoma's 2 commitments from guys. Let's get this right now. Aledo, and I wanted to
finally figured it out.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times I was trying to post something on the board using my voice to text. The guy, the stadium announcer at Aledo talks more than any announcer I have ever heard in my entire life. And I would get through with the whole thing, like doing my voice to text. And in the middle of, my breakdown of Jase McClellan's last run, it would be an advertisement for the Aledo Education Foundation. And I'm like, and I've got to go in and delete the whole thing. It was, it was a trial at Aledo, but he said Aledo at least 7,500 times. So I'm very familiar with the word now.
You know it now. Jase McClellan, that run that he had a couple runs, Josh, that we highlighted on the board, but he looked very impressive, and he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks now with a broken hand.
Yeah, he came out about mid-third quarter and was really, you could tell like something had spooked him and he was real worried about it. Well, I thought he'd just come out because they were up 28-0 at that point. It wasn't any big deal. Colleyville Heritage hadn't done anything, so I thought they just sat him because they just didn't need him. I think his backup ended up going for like 140. So they were, Aledo is really, really good this year. I'll be real surprised if they're not playing in Jerry World in December. But beyond that, so I came down to the sidelines. All of a sudden, I could see his arm in a sling, and I thought, "Oh, that's kind of bad." Well, guys, we know the field guy for Aledo's radio broadcast, and he came over and kind of told me, "Sounds like a sprained wrist. He might miss a couple weeks. No big deal." Well, then I'm talking to Jeffery Carter after the game, and it sounded like, "Oh, maybe he broke it." And then I talked to Jase as well, but I tried not to push him too hard on it because, the kid was giving me an interview with an injured arm. I'm sure he was disappointed. So I tried not to press it too hard. But we found out Saturday, he broke a wrist. He seems pretty optimistic. I've talked to him a little bit since then, and he seems pretty upbeat that he'll be back by, kind of later in the regular season.
All right. Anything, Asamoah, Mike Stoops actually yesterday didn't ever use his name, but he said that he mentioned he was going to maybe try and go see his high school, Cardinal Mooney High School, play Friday night, or Tim Kish was going to go. And then he just mentioned, we've got a kid that we're recruiting that's playing on the other team, playing against my high school. And he never said his name, but it's obvious, somebody's going to be there for OU watching him. I don't know, if Jay Bulware will be in Cincinnati on Friday night, but
I would bet they send one guy to each.
I don't know. Did Tavion? Did he say anything to you about OU coaches to come visit him, Josh?
He hasn't mentioned it. I'm kind of surprised. I'll check on that once we're done here. But yeah, I'm with Eddie. I would be real surprised if Jay didn't take that opportunity to go over there and see him, just because it's an easy trip, and what's he going to miss out on? I don't think it's any big deal. If I'm OU, I'm sending Mike and Kish can go over there, because if one can, both can. It's no big deal.
I agree. I tell you what, I sat down and watched Thomas's film last night because it had been a while. God, he's a big dude. He's such a big dude. I'm excited to see him in person.
He looked really good. He's already got his tape from last week up. He's one of those kids that updates it each week, and he went kind of nuts last week. He had like an 80-yard run, so hopefully you guys will get some really nice clips out of that whole deal.
He will join a very elite group of guys that we have seen the day before a game.
It doesn't usually go too well.
Dorial Green
Beckham.
What was the kid's name out of Tallahassee?
Laith Harlow.
Laith
Harlow. That did not go well.
Jeez. There's been, I think, one more.
You didn't see Imani Bledsoe last year or a couple years ago when they were in Lawrence.
No. There was something.
There's another one though. Yeah.
I went up and saw
the trip that we flew to.
I went up and saw the kid from Derby, but and then I met up with Carey the next day, and he played like 3 snaps, and it was like 20 degrees outside. What was that kid's name? The tight end, Goolsby. That's it.
Went to Florida.
Right.
Yep.
I will say I'll never forget that trip to go see Laith Harlow, just because that was an era. I mean, that was before like 7-on-7 was really becoming a huge deal. And it was the first time I went and saw a group of kids play, and it was like, I remember we had a Rivals guy there, and I can't remember who it was.
Chris Nee.
Chris Nee was there, and he was telling me about all the guys. He's like, that guy's going to Kentucky, that guy's going to Auburn, that guy's going there. Like, everybody on that team was going somewhere, and I just remember thinking, this isn't football. Like, everyone is so fast and skinny and tall. Like, there's no football. It's just basketball on grass.
They just beat the shit out of that team that night too.
Yeah,
Godby.
Godby's a really good program.
And didn't they put in like Harlow late just because he barely played or something?
Yeah, it was really weird. He had like a knee injury, and then I think that later cost him his career at OU. It was the knee or the neck,
back
or neck or back or something.
Neck or
That's
back.
right.
Yeah, I
That's
can't
right.
remember which, but it was one of those two. I think it was the back.
I know we're going to have to get out of here. One thing I wanted to touch on, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Eddie, I don't know. We're going to be in Columbus, so I really don't care. But, man, did you guys see this stuff with ABC Channel 5 and Cox Communications?
There is going to be riots in the streets of any town in Oklahoma if this is not remedied by Saturday morning.
And here's the stupid thing. It's like, maybe it's not stupid, but I'm getting tired of hearing this. It's like, everybody, it's either, oh, you should cut the cord, or oh, you should get AT&T, or oh, you should get DirecTV. I like Cox Cable. I don't want to have to change my damn cable just because 2 people can't get along. And I mean, how are you going to have cable without ABC? You're not. Just fix the damn thing.
What are the percentage chances this is remedied by Saturday? I mean,
98.
I would.
Bill Haston told me that Tulsa, I think it's Hearst, that's the parent company here. Maybe it was Sinclair, or maybe it was Clear Channel. I can't remember. But Cox in Tulsa got into it with Fox, and it went past the first Cowboys game, and people lost their minds.
I mean, there might be a homicide if this isn't taken care of.
Well, that's the thing. Like, okay, say Cox could literally go to all the OU fans there and say, like, they're demanding $3 million a year more from us. For all of our OU fans, the 900,000 of you, that's going to equate to about $4 a year. Can you guys ante up $4 a year? Yeah, we got that. Like, every OU fan would pay it in a minute just to avoid the fear that they're not going to get to watch the biggest game of OU football probably this year.
It's one of the biggest games, and like Ohio State last year was at least at home. This is one of the biggest road games that OU football has ever played in its entire history.
Really? You think so?
I mean, it's 2 versus 5. Yeah. I mean, matchups like this don't happen very often.
That's true.
You can go back into the, easily. A lot of people can go back into the 70s and name pretty much every. I mean, just think about like Florida State was a really big matchup.
Yeah.
That OU was number 1, and we looked it up the other day. And like the biggest matchups OU had last year, like did you know that OSU and OU was a top 10 matchup last year? OSU was 10 and OU was 7.
I guess that didn't really dawn on me.
OU versus West Virginia, a top 10 matchup last year. West Virginia was 10 and OU was 7. Or maybe OU was 9
incredible.
and West Virginia was 10.
It's kind of incredible.
Because OU had lost to Houston. Houston was 15 when the season started, so that wasn't a top 10 matchup. And then OU had fallen down to 14 when Ohio State came, so it wasn't a top 10 matchup.
That's right. And then they each week rose back up through the...
But non-conference top 10 matchups on the road, there's only a handful of those that have happened.
Pretty special. It's going to be an electric atmosphere, I guess is the best way.
I'm looking forward to it. I've heard that the stadium is just ridiculously big. Like, it just looks like an incredible, piece of architecture.
And this is one of those games too that I think that, you said all the players' parents want to go to the game. I have a ton of friends that are heading up, and I think it's going to not necessarily, it won't be like Notre Dame where it seemed like there were more, there weren't more fans there, but it's going to be one of those games where Oklahoma, they obviously travel well, and there's going to be a ton of Oklahoma fans up there just as much as there were a ton of Ohio State fans that came down here last year.
All right. We're headed that way. I don't know if we'll have an emergency podcast. I think we're going to try something like that at some point. But I know Josh has got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Lincoln Riley, going to talk to him one last time. And then we're headed to Dallas to fly out to Cincinnati. So appreciated you guys on the podcast today. Josh, just one last thing. Any last-minute recruiting news you want to throw out there?
No, not really. I mean, we talked a little bit about Brian Asamoah. I think that visit went really well. I guess, obviously, we should just real briefly. Trajan Bridges, obviously committed yesterday, Rivals 100 receiver. It's a big get for Oklahoma in 2019. It's crazy that Oklahoma has had 3 Rivals 100 receivers in 2019 now commit. Now, only one of them is still on the books. But it tells you, that's how things are going for OU. They have 4 commitments in the class of 2019, and 3 of them are Rivals 100 guys. So, they're off to a really, really strong start in that class.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. We may or may not be back. I'm going to tell you this. If they win on Saturday, we'll come back maybe and do a podcast for you. That's real committed, isn't it? We'll come back maybe and do a podcast on Sunday.
I'm down. But...
We'll do our predictions on the website. Is anybody really going to pick OU?
I don't think you're going to want to hear my prediction. If you're listening, I think it's going to be extremely tough to come up with enough stops. I didn't see that a style of defense that just was. I walked away from Saturday
dominant,
thinking
this
team's
going to
go on the
better.
road and shut the shit out of them. So I just
last curse word there.
I had to get it out. So.
Eddie said miracle earlier, and I was like, I don't think Eddie's buying OU this weekend.
That's a horrible analogy, by the way. Shut the shit out of them. It infers hands on butts.
Okay, yeah. I haven't had a really good speaking day.
It's because you've been so evil about things, children and blind people.
Helen Keller started it. I'm going to finish it.
All right. That is Eddie Radosevich. Thank you, Eddie, for being here today. Thank you, Josh, for being here. Go rate us on iTunes. We are up to 100. We didn't do ratings and reviews today. I'm sorry. We have some great ones recently. We will get to that next time because you guys are really stepping up and giving some good ones. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Good luck to your Sooners here coming up this weekend. I'm not going to give you a Boomer Sooner or anything like that, so just don't expect us to start doing that stuff. I'm just saying, good luck to your Sooners. We hope that they win and that you all are happy and that you don't melt down on Sunday or late Saturday. So, for Josh, for Eddie, I'm Carey Murdoch. We'll see you next time on the Unofficial 40.
Podcasts from Soonerscoop.com.